Chris here, Keystone Lawn and Tree Care in Spokane, Washington. Today we have two guests with us today. We have Vitaly from Greenline Services and Phil from Phil's Lawn Care. Thanks a lot for joining me, you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, the whole
Absolutely.
point of us making these videos is so that we want you guys out there to be successful out there in YouTube land. Don't make the same kind of mistakes we have. And so we just kind of a roundtable discussion. We're going to have some fun, talk a little bit about some of the things that we've learned, share some of the things with you. And we're going to talk about goals and just different things throughout this segment. But, you know, before we really get started, I just want to take a second. Vitaly, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
You've been in the industry for a long time, for about 20 years now. And over the years, we've exchanged a lot of conversations and phone calls, and I've learned a lot from you. I just appreciate you coming out here and showing us what you've learned.
Absolutely.
And also Phil on the other hand, Phil is 20 years younger than us, but however, he has been in the industry a few years, and I feel like he's got a leg up. He's been able to learn a lot from us and from other people and not make the same mistakes. And I feel like you got a leg up in the industry, and you're just going to be that much more successful. And I thank you for coming and just
definitely.
take a minute and sharing with YouTube what we all have. So, at any rate, the season is just getting started here. That's why we have a chance to make these silly videos. Just want to take a quick second and thank our wives for allowing us to do this.
Sure.
We have a funny hobby here, just making videos, trying to help you guys. But none of this would be possible without our wives. So we thank our wives, and I'm sure these guys do the same.
All right.
So let's jump into it. It's a new year, and the world's crazy. I mean, we got rising fuel costs, inflation is out of control here in Washington or in Idaho too. The unemployment or the minimum wage is going up and up and up and up. Our fair wages that we were paying our guys just a few years ago is not even
Entry level.
an entry level. Yeah. And so these costs are just really outstanding, and they're just nuts.
Yeah.
And so how are you guys? Let's start with Vitaly for a second. And Vitaly, if you got, just bounce it over to Phil.
Sure.
And we'll just kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
And so with these crazy prices and stuff that's going on, are you thinking about hiring employees? Are you going to raise your prices? Are you going to cut customers?
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do to make money this year?
Well, I'm just going to continue on from last year. I'm just going to keep rolling with it. So there will be price increases just because materials have gone up. Fertilizer costs have almost doubled. Fuel's up, 30% year over year. Minimum wage went up, so everything's gone up. So I have to minimum charge 10% what I did last year just to stay even. And customer dependent, it could be up to 15-20% for new signups. And so I've also done the buying in bulk strategy where I stocked up last year right before the end of the year. I bought my trimmer line that I need for the next 12 to 24 months. I've got the oil, I've got the air filters, I've got the spark plugs, I've got the blades, I've got everything I know I'm going to go through and use up. I've stocked up. So if the price increases happen this year, won't bother me right now.
Nice. Phil, give us your 2 cents.
That's actually a good thing I should have done was buying bulk. Right now, I just bought blades, and blades were even expensive. I stocked up on blades, but I think Vitaly said it right. You got to raise prices, because if you're not raising prices, you're just going to run out of business and fail and wonder why you're not making enough money this year to cover your costs of operation. So I feel like we all need to raise prices, and we can't be bottom feeding on cutting people and trying to charge $25-30 per cut. That doesn't happen anymore. I mean, so yeah, I already raised my prices for all my clients. I am kind of in a different situation like these two guys. I just moved to Idaho, so I'm kind of restarting my business. Not really. I'm kind of not really. I got like half of my clientele that I'm still servicing in Washington State and Spokane. And so all of those clients got a $5-10 increase on their mowing rates, and they were all fine with that. I haven't had one person complain to me. And I feel like the thing is, people that aren't comfortable telling their clients, "Oh, I'm going to raise your price." I feel like people should just go ahead and do it, because there's nothing like the worst thing a customer can say is no. And I don't want your price because it's way too high. Well, then it's like, all right, you weren't my client in the first place.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like raising prices is the number one thing people got to do right now. So,
Yeah.
and also find ways to save money on top of that.
Absolutely. I agree with you, And, we're in business to make money and to be successful. And, And Vitaly just had another kid just a couple days ago, and he's gonna have to send these kids to college. You know, I got kids, and Phil's still too young. He doesn't have kids yet. But
I'm in no rush.
He's in no rush. But anyway, you know, Phil's gonna send his kids to college someday, and he's got to pay for it. And how are we all gonna do that? Through our businesses. How are we going to pay for our houses? How are we going to pay for our trucks? How are we going to raise our families? How are we going to take our kids to Disneyland? You know, and these silly things. And it's through our businesses, and part of that is raising the rates. You know, and don't be afraid of it, because when you're first getting started, you may think, "Oh, I can't afford to raise rates." Remember those days? You were just like, you were too afraid. You just couldn't raise the rates. And you're like, "Oh, I can't possibly raise rates, because what if I lose a bunch of customers, and then I'm going to be in trouble, and I'm going to be scared." You know, but we're telling you, we got 3 professionals here. We've been doing it a long time. Don't be afraid to raise your rates.
Yeah, customers that if they don't want to pay your new rate, they'll shop around, and either they will come back to you because the other guys' rates are very close to yours and they already have an established relationship with you, and it's just easier to stay with you. But customers like that, sometimes I don't want to deal with them anymore. You know, I felt that, you know, I wasn't worth their while, and they've treated me in certain ways, and I've let customers go and just not done business with them. And so it's gone both ways, and there's 2 ways to make money this year. Increase your prices, number 1, which is what we're all doing. Number 2 is to get more customers, and so that's a double strategy to, if you really want to increase your revenue even more, is to get more customers. Now, some of us don't necessarily need or want more customers, and so the raising the rate strategy would be probably the best way to go. But if you got room in your schedule, and you know, you can always add more people.
Yeah, you know, I don't have room in my schedule for additional people, but the customers that I do have, I'm trying to squeeze more money out of them. And what do I mean by that? You know, I mean like offering extra services like fertilizing, or maybe freshen up the bark mulch, or, you know, trimming the shrubs. I'm trying to squeeze more money out of the customers that I currently have, because I really can't take on a lot of extra customers. I just don't have the time. You know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think so. On the same level as you guys, you know. One thing I always like thinking right now about prices, you know, everything is so high up. Should we not buy new equipment, because equipment has even gone up, you know? And so I was like looking at even like a Toro Time Master. Man, 4 or 5 years ago it was only $800, and now you go to Home Depot and it's $1,300-$1,400.
And that's for the residential grade.
That's the residential grade, yeah. Not even talking about the Turf Master. The Turf Master's 2.5.
Yeah, I remember when it was like 19 or 2000 when it first came out.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, maybe you just this year you have to work with what you got, you know, because we all want the new shiny equipment, but right now it's no point, because they're 30% over, you know, their asking price, and no one's willing to cut you, you know, $100-$200.
But is that going to be the new norm? I mean, is this higher inflation, this craziness, is this going to be the new norm?
I think so. It looks like it
for the foreseeable future.
Some of the dealers that I've worked with, they if you're wanting to buy a lot of equipment, they do fleet discounts. And so if you walk in and say, "Hey, I need, you know, 2 blowers, 2 trimmers, 2 walk behind mowers, and a stand-on mower," they'll do a package deal. Well, they'll give you up to 20% off. So there are fleet discounts. That's a strategy that I came across. Same thing with buying in bulk. If you've got a dealer that you're working with, look at those options. If you can buy in bulk and, you know, a bunch of material, or buy multiple pieces of equipment, they'll work with you more often than places like Home Depot or any of the big chains.
Yeah, we're kind of comparing apples to oranges here, because you've been in business and you've been more established. So you have like 4 big mowers, and I mean, you have like almost a fleet. You know, you got 4 of everything. You got 4 mid-sized walk behinds. You got like 4 bigger ones, and you know, you got 4 of this, 4 of that. So you got 4. But for example, maybe Phil, on the other hand, he's just getting started virtually in the last few years. You know, Phil maybe doesn't have it in his budget to buy 4 new machines, or, you know, 4 backpack blowers. You know, so yeah, I think maybe that might be what you mentioned earlier. Maybe keeping the stuff that you have in good working order.
Yeah. It can't hurt you to be conservative, and, you know, just work with what you have and make full use of it. That's definitely a smart thing to do. I don't recommend anybody get into debt. However, if, you know, in my strategy, the more I grow, the more I earn, and so I can justify purchases. And so everybody's situation is a little bit different. I know we talked about comparing apples to oranges, and you know, but I'm kind of a glass, you know, half full type of guy. So I know that the money's out there, the money will come. If I need it, it can be justified.
Yeah.
If it's a splurge, then okay, I'll hold off and see how things pan out.
Well, and also as we're planning our goals for the year, not only are we raising prices at minimum 10%, we're also building into our budget a growth of say 10 or 15% right off the bat.
Yep.
I mean, we want to make more money than we did last year. We either that be through squeezing more money out of the clients that you currently have by upselling them, like I mentioned with fertilizers, or by maybe getting more clients or maybe hiring employees to start cutting more lawns. So we're not just increasing prices by 10%. We're going to increase our total revenue goals for the entire year for, I would say, at least 20%.
Yep.
If you say, for example, you made $100,000 last year, you better be making $120,000 this year. Sure. And I mean, I think that's fair. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think so. I think you just got to run your numbers and see, take that 10-20%, because that 10-20% might not cover the extra increase in prices that you're going to have. So your expenses your expenses are going up too.
So are you saying that actually I'm going to make less money this year?
You might make the same. You might just not know it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
It might on paper look like you made more money, but your expenses are also going to go up. And so minus everything out, you're going to be like, well, I just made the same amount of money this year, but I worked almost twice as hard, I felt like.
Yeah,
so.
We should do this again in like a year and then compare the numbers and see where we were.
Yeah, in the season videos. But in my situation, I've stocked up. I prepared. Like I knew this was coming. I read the economic news, and so I know stuff's coming down the line. So I don't see myself needing to buy anything this year. Like I can hold off. Like I need nothing. And I just prepped ahead of time. And so the only expenses I can really see would be any part-time helpers or temporary helpers that I have hire on for the season. They're asking for an extra $5 an hour more than they would last year. And so that's the strategy is one thing you can keep constant, but the human element you just can't. With the work I do, I have to have at least one full-time helper or two part-time guys.
Yeah, me too.
We've done some strategies that way.
Yeah.
Just because I justify it. It really increases and supercharges my daily revenue. And that's the other kicker is efficiency. I'm really big on efficiency. So why do I have 4 different mowers? I have everything from a 36 to a 52. It's because of efficiency. I'll carry a big one and a small one with me. If the property fits the mower, I use that mower. I don't use a smaller mower than I need to, and I'll oftentimes use the biggest mower I can to get that property done in the shortest amount of time. So the right tool for the right job in the right situation for high efficiency.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that go on. I like that phrase. What gets measured gets done. So if we're setting goals right now at this time of the year, I said at least 10 and then 20. Sure. I think we should maybe measure it again in a year or maybe in 6 months.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? What are your goals for this year? Are you going to increase?
We already talked about goals.
No. Okay, maybe
that whole episode.
Next step.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, we did talk about that in the.
Quick goals. Yeah, make more money. We all want to either hire another guy. I'm in a different situation. I'm not looking to hire this year. But I am looking to make more money. So it's like,
how are you going to make more money?
Well, YouTube is really kicking off for me, so I can make more money just by posting more videos. And I take the time that I have, maybe like a couple days throughout the week, and just find lawns that are overgrown and make overgrown videos. And so, like people that can look up on YouTube, Phil's Lawn Care, you'll see that I have a pretty good following. Awesome. And a lot of people like to watch those videos, and YouTube pays me on top of that, so it's like a passive income source for me.
That's great.
Yeah, I've even thought about cutting back on my business, but then my wife was like, "No, you're going to make a foolish decision, because what if YouTube drops you?
Or what if the algorithm changes overnight?
And you're only going to get like 1,000 views per video. Well, then I have to fall back into my business, and if I've cut my business, and I have to restart and gain everything back. So not only do I want to maybe cut back a little bit so I have time to make more videos, but again, raise my prices and sell more services like you talked about, mulch installation and other spring fall cleanups like that to the customers that you already have, and not waste money on advertising, marketing, and all that.
Yeah. So how do you advertise? I mean, you've advertised in Spokane and you got your business up, but what about you're in Coeur d'Alene now? I mean, what are you going to do?
So right now I'm on Google My Business. I changed everything over to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I'm ranking pretty good now on Google. If you type in lawn care service in Coeur d'Alene, I'll be, maybe on the front, maybe on the second page, but you'll see me on Google Maps. And so a lot of people, if you type in, like I recently did, I needed to get my truck detailed. So I did, detail service near me. And what do you look at first? You look at who's the closest to you, and you click on their profile. And that's the thing that I did was I typed in lawn care service near me. If you type it in, you'll see yourself, on there, and people will see Phil's Lawn Care, and they'll click on me, read my reviews, and, call me. And so I don't really market that much on like, Craigslist or Angie's List or Nextdoor. I did a little bit of Nextdoor here and there, but fact of the matter is really right now it's everyone's on Google, everyone's Google searching lawn care services. And so if you can get your name on the front page or on the maps, then people know who you are. They'll click on you, they'll call you. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
And you have a website too?
I have a website, yeah. I also changed like all the meta tags and all that on it. So that's all. It's a headache, but it's a headache to explain.
Yeah.
But did all the back end links and all that for Coeur d'Alene Lawn Care Service for my website. So
yeah, that's some good advice. Get your website up to date. Get your business Google page up to date.
Yeah.
This guy, he's old school.
Yeah. I don't have any web presence whatsoever. So this is interesting for me to learn because I built it from the ground up with just word of mouth. It's the biggest thing I've ever done in terms of web presence was Craigslist ads, and that was years ago. I haven't done one in like 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And so I think I got that ball rolling back then, and just word just keeps spreading.
Yeah.
And so I haven't advertised. I haven't spent a penny on advertising ever, except for business cards. But other than that, so I've kind of done it, the back way, kind of just slow. Wasn't very fast growth. It was a lot of word of mouth and a little bit of door to door, just talking to people that we know, referrals. That was a big one. And I was able to manage my growth that way. It was slow and steady. And sometimes, there were years where, I wish it was a lot more. There's some tough years. But it's at the point now where it's comfortable. But I would like to increase the quality of customers and be able to filter locations, radius, and then the quality of customers is the big
So
one.
how do you filter a customer? Say some guy just calls you up on the phone. And what's the first thing you say? He says, "I want my lawn cut." What's the first thing you say?
Yeah, I just have a mental rundown of my list because I've done this 100 times.
Yeah.
I asked them, where are you located?
Yeah.
For me, location
Number one.
is number one.
Yeah.
If he says, I'm northeast Spokane, like that's 10 minutes for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
I can fit you in the
So
route.
check, and then what?
Okay, sure. The quality or the condition of your property.
Yeah.
Has it been maintained? Is it overgrown? What are you looking to have done? So I'm asking the customer what they're looking for exactly. If he just says, I just need the grass cut, I'm like, okay, simple enough. And then he asks me, what is your price range? And I give him my price range. If it's 45 to 50, that's what I tell him. That's my range. And I said, has it been done for a while? No, I haven't done it in a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's like nail.
Yeah.
Be an initial
So
cut.
I'm interviewing the customer basically
Yeah.
because I need to find out what's going on. And oftentimes, and I also tell them, I'll be in your area within the next week as I'm driving around doing my regular stuff, and I'll pop in.
See.
So,
I think I mentioned that
I
to you
work
before.
I work that into my normal schedule. Very rarely do I go out of my way.
Oh yeah, no way.
Unless it's a higher dollar amount and it makes sense.
Yeah.
I weigh the costs and the benefit ratio.
Sure.
And so sometimes I'll go out of my way, but that's very rare.
Yeah.
I'll make maybe a couple exceptions a year.
Yeah, and I found if the first question out of the customer's mouth is how much do you cost, they're not going to be a good customer. I mean, just forget it. I mean, I would even go as far as to say, well, I don't know, and then just forget it. Just get rid of them.
Yeah, I try to be pretty respectful of people.
What are you trying to say?
I'll give somebody a chance.
Risking a 1-star review here.
Yeah. I have no web presence, so stars mean nothing to me. But no, I'll talk to somebody. People have asked me the price, but then I follow up with good questions, and they'll give me good answers, and it turns out to fit.
Sure.
So you can never really discount it right off the bat. You just never know. There are hidden gems out there.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Qualifying customers is key.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
It's an interview process.
just like you said, when they say, well, how much do you charge? Well, what's your minimum? I'll tell them straight up, my minimum's 45.
Yep.
And sometimes depending on the day,
It might be 50, it might be 60.
Might be 50, it might be 60, you know? If you're not looking for new clients, you know, if you're all booked out, it's 60.
Yeah.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
but yeah, you might be lying to your clients, but you're just making that business decision right off the bat.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not really so much lying. It's just they're asking you a question and you're telling them your answer. So your answer can vary. So it's
Yeah.
Business does vary. Prices vary all
prices
the time.
can change
so.
all the time.
Yeah.
Prices
Yeah.
are adjustable, right?
Yeah.
So
That's a good nugget. You got to qualify the customers and
Yeah.
taking the time. Don't go out of your way to give
Yeah.
a free estimate, unless it's maybe a big giant commercial property. And then,
yes.
yeah, you do want to be Johnny on the
Or
spot.
you just moved and
Or you just
Yeah.
moved and
Yeah.
you got to get to everybody.
I'm going to it's tough because I don't want to be like, well, I do my estimates on Saturdays. Well, then if they called me Monday, then they got to wait that whole week.
Yeah, and you
So-
could lose them.
And you could lose them. So right now I'm like, yeah, I'll be right there in like 20 minutes. And they're like, whoa, all right. Clear. So,
Yeah.
I remember those days.
It's a different strategy when you're reestablishing yourself or starting up.
Yeah.
You know, you're just
Feels like you're Johnny on the
hungry.
spot.
It's, you're on the go. You're on the go. But as
Yeah.
you get more established and you have, you know, a
Yeah,
foundation,
you can't afford to do
clientele.
that.
Yeah, it's your priorities change and then your methods change too. They adapt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's all good. It just depends what stage you're at.
Yeah, a method I'll do, sometimes I'll put them on speakerphone and I'll get their address and I'll go on to Google
Oh, yeah,
Maps
maps.
and I'll get like a vague idea of where they are and like what their property looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll give them, ballpark. I don't know, it's between 50 or 60.
Sure.
And but then I'm like, I agree with you. It's like, well, when I'm in the neighborhood next week,
Yep.
I'll swing by and do it. But I try to go one step farther, and I try to get them to give me a soft commitment.
Sure.
Be like, how does the price range of $50 or $60? Does that sound fair, Mr. Customer?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that sounds fair. Great. When I'm there next week, do you want me to get started that day? At least try to
Yeah.
get some buy off, and I'll double check. I'll call you and make sure. And
Yeah,
then when you
sure.
get over there, you get at least
Yeah.
got a soft commitment.
Yeah, if I get referrals, oftentimes I'll talk with the customer and I'll ask them about the condition of the property, and oftentimes I'll ask them, can you send me some pictures? And more often than not, they'll just send me, 5 or 6 pictures. Like, yeah, I haven't done this in 2 weeks, and here's what it looks like right now. So I have an idea. If they ask for, can you give me a specific quote? I say, can you show me the condition of your property? And they'll send me a picture. So it saves me from driving. I don't have to drive. I see what it's looking like, and I give them a range. And I say, hey, if it's worse when I show up, if your pictures like you made it look better, I'm like, if
Yeah.
it shows up and like I see it's you're off by 6 inches. It's
Yeah.
I get a soft commitment.
yeah, what do you guys, so if like someone calls and say, oh, my lawn's overgrown, but I want to get on a weekly schedule, how do you go about pricing?
I guess it depends on how overgrown it is.
Yep.
I'll tell you a quick story. Is I had somebody call me like that. It was like 3 feet tall. Hey, I want you to do initial. I
Yep.
know it's going to cost me more, and then I want to get on your schedule. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, yeah, all right, And so it worked out pretty good for the first month. I cut it. I was charging double, for
Yep.
this initial cut, and then I went every week, and it looked great. And then about a month and a half later, the guy,
dropped you?
yeah, they dropped me, and it happens, but I
Yeah.
probably should not have done that guy to begin with. Really, I
Right.
should have qualified him better.
Sure, but it depends. That's happened to me too. But I don't take anything personal.
Yeah,
I didn't have that customer to begin with in the season, and I don't have him at the end of the season. So honestly, but in the meantime, I made some money, so I was able to pay my bills and stuff. So I'm in the business to make money. So customers come and go. I've over the course of 15, 20 years, I've probably lost, a couple dozen. But do I remember them? Not really. 'Cause
Yeah.
new ones are always there.
yeah, it's important. Don't take it personal. I did kind of take it personal.
Yeah.
I was like, what? This guy kind of took advantage of me, but it was my own fault. And
If you
it's
got paid what you wanted to get paid, I mean,
Yeah,
you got what you wanted.
You
You got what he
definitely-
wanted.
Yeah, to go back, I guess, to what you're asking, definitely charge an initial cut.
Yeah, because I
Absolutely.
usually go like, and I was talking about kind of like more price specific. Like, is it 2x, 3x, 4x?
Yeah.
Do you look at that
It's a stage.
stage?
That's
Yeah.
what I do.
Yeah.
So if it's the first 12 inches, it's going to be 2 to 2.5. So if it's like, I normally charge 50, and if it's 12 inches or 14 inches, I'm like, okay, you're at 150.
Yeah, because that's what I usually do. Is now that I make videos on overgrown lawns, but still I'm in the business to make money. So sometimes it can't just be like, oh, I'll do it for free for you.
Yeah.
As long as I can record. No.
As long as I can put my YouTube cameras everywhere.
Right, yeah. But yeah, how I do it is like, I look at it, I'm like, okay, it's going to take me, twice as long. All right,
Sure.
it's going to be 2 or 3 times the amount.
Yeah.
Because not only do I have to cut it, sometimes I have to bag it too to get all the grass out and
man.
go to the dump
What a nightmare.
So
and then pay the dump.
how do you bag? What do you use? Use tarps? Use cans?
Oh.
How do you haul away?
Well, if it's overgrown, I try to mulch it up as best that I can, but then I rake it all up onto a tarp and haul it on out. So, but yeah, it's different, but you got to incorporate all these things in your price as well. But yeah, mine is usually like 2 or 3x.
Oh yeah,
So
same. Yeah, it all depends. So
Yeah, I know.
Every property is so different.
Yeah, you might be tempted when you're first getting started, because I did this when I first got started. I would come to a lawn that's really tall, and I'm like, "Hey, I'll just charge you the regular rate, so long as you become a regular customer." And I'm like, "Hey," but nah,
I had that happen, and
do not do that.
This guy, this guy played me. He said, "Yeah, I've got an overgrown property, but I want it cut at the highest setting on your mower." I'm like, "All right, so 5 inches?" He's like, "Yeah, just the highest setting." I'm like, "Okay." So I show up, it was overgrown. I cut it as best I can. I had to like quadruple cut it, to make it look to my standards. Yeah. But it was still high, and I'm like, all right. So I left, and then he's like, hey, could you come back in like 2 weeks? I'm like, what? So I'm like, sure. We don't do it. We do weekly service. I thought you wanted to do weekly. He's like, no, it doesn't really need it. So I came back the second time. I did it, and then he's like, all right, I don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
Did he have a reason?
No, he just said, I don't want service anymore. So I don't know if
maybe that goes back to trying to qualify the customer a little bit.
I do have 1 or 2 folks that do like it at just about the highest setting, like 5 inches, and I didn't understand it until I got there, and I realized that their soil is like farm soil, and for some reason it like holds water so well, or the soil's so thick that that's like the perfect height for that specific grass. It's really weird, and then when you walk on it, it feels a little bit taller than normal, but I get it, because if I went any shorter, I'd be scalping it.
Yeah,
the soil table is so high.
There are like sheep's fescues kind of like that too.
And it's just how the lawn was installed and what they did to it, and the sprinkler situation. So she just tells me, hey, we've always done it at 5, and just do that, and it looks good.
Now let's go. That reminds me now. What if you have picky customers that one wants it tall and one wants it short? I used to be really accommodating, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, because I was the one mowing. But as my business grew, and I had employees, I had it in a playbook. I'd have the schedule written down. I'd say maybe long or short or whatever. But I couldn't standardize that. I found, and so as I grew and I had employees and people wanted it long, some people wanted it short. I just said no. I just said it's going to be at this height. And we're not going to adjust the mowers every other time when we get the different yards. I just said, no, I can't do it. Okay. What do you guys think about that?
Go ahead.
I'm pretty accommodating. I've kind of memorized the same customers I've had year after year. So I know if I tell my helper, hey, this one's at a 2, this one's at a 2.5. Right when we pull up, I say, this one's at a 2.5, and he adjusts it to a 2.5. And we have everything. We just have a system that way. So I don't have a standard, but I'd say over the course of the summer, 90% of customers are at 2.5 inches.
Yeah.
And some are a little bit higher, some are lower, that their grass is more like a golf course type. And so I do accommodate, and it does work. Oftentimes, if the guys do accidentally mow it a little bit taller, week over week, it's not a big deal. Sometimes the customer lets me know. Oftentimes they don't. So I'm flexible. I know every property is different, so I accommodate that specific property. I don't want to scalp anybody's lawn.
What are your 2 cents?
I'm very, when it comes down to like people asking me, hey, could you cut it shorter? It's just me. I'm solo, so it's like, sure,
okay.
I don't care.
Nothing, remember.
It takes me 1 second to pull the pin in.
Yeah.
But the one thing I don't like is when they over fertilize and they overwater, and then they want it shorter because they see that it's growing faster.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, could you cut it actually shorter? We're like, well, now it's going to take me longer because you want it shorter.
But every week every week it's shorter, and if it's long.
I had one client where I mowed 3 inches for him, and then he over fertilized, overwatered. He saw that it was growing way too far. When the day of me coming out to service this property, he noticed that it's just way too long. And he's like, hey, could you drop it down to 2? I'm like, you're going from 3 to 2. That's another inch. And plus you fertilized a lot. Yeah, it's not going to reduce the amount of growth that you're going to have.
You're still going to have 5 inches of growth the next week.
Exactly. It's just going to make it harder for me.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll just tack on whatever you got to tack on. But I'm like, I don't really want to tack on because
Yeah.
it's not going to save me money.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to spend more time at your property, and it's going to
Yeah.
turn into me mowing twice as long
Mhm.
at your property. I got a full list of clients
Yeah.
to service that day.
Sure.
So I told them, like, I can't do it. I have to do it at 3 or maybe 2.5. I don't know what I did.
Yeah.
But, I think I left it at like 3, and I just told them to cut back on watering.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that is a pet peeve of mine too.
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a
up there.
few customers where they got a fertilizing service and they water way too much, and every single week it grows like 5 inches.
You got to
It's
be
just
there twice
nuts.
a week.
You got to be there
much.
twice
Yeah.
a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've told them, please dial back the water.
Yeah.
Like, at least I've told them, have the water off the 2 days before I come. If I come on a Wednesday, don't water Wednesday for sure, and don't water Tuesday. So they're
Yeah.
only watering 5 days a week instead of 7.
Sure.
So I've gotten to the point where I've had to adjust the watering for the customer. Either I do it or they do it. But some of the lawns I show up, like one lady has me cut at 1.5. The back.
That is short.
The back. And,
Yeah.
But somehow
Golf
it,
course short.
Yeah.
yeah. But it works for whatever she did with the grass. She overseeds and she got a specific type where it looks good.
Yeah.
But then when May comes around and we have spring rains and we have the fertilizing and then we have the sprinklers on top of that, and I show up and it's grown 5 inches.
Yeah.
And I tell her, hey, this is going to take me twice as long. I'm going to have to this lawn today is going to be 50% more than normal. Just because my agreement was to cut a normal lawn at the first 3 inches is going to be 45. Anything above that, because you're overwatering or over fertilizing, that's extra work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big pet peeve of mine too.
Yeah.
Another pet peeve of mine is dog poop.
Oh yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
it just drives me nuts. I've gotten to the point where I'll actually I'll fine them. I'll make an upcharge of dog poop.
That's one way.
And that gets their attention real fast. And I'll say, hey, I've been mowing your lawn for years. Every Wednesday,
Yep.
please clean up that morning or the night before. And I haven't ever gotten to the point where I get so frustrated and I just quit. I never gotten to that point, but it is frustrating. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I quit one time.
Yeah, did you really?
Long time ago. If my wife's gonna be listening to this, she's gonna be mad. But we went, and this was like one of my very beginning customers. She was $40 a week. It was way too underpriced. It was like, now if I were to charge, it would be like 65.
Yeah.
But it was way too under, and I didn't want to let it go because I was scared.
Sure.
And I didn't want to raise her rates, obviously, because she was one of my 5 or 10 that I had during that time. Had my wife help me, and she never picked up after her dog, never. And her backyard was full of poop, and on top of that, she had a pool. So you can't side discharge really, because all the clippings would go in there. So you have to bag it.
Here.
Oh. Yeah.
And she would overwater and over fertilize, and so it would be very long. And when you trim, you can't really see the poop
Oh, that's
sometimes.
the worst.
It's the worst.
And my wife clipped a little bit of it, and she got it on herself. She was so mad.
Did she get it in her
Yeah.
face
And that made-
or just on her?
I think she got maybe a little
yeah,
bit, but she got
that's
it
a-
all over her
It's the
shirt.
worst. It's like, ugh.
And
Yeah.
she was mad. She was
agree.
I was mad too.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
kept on telling that lady, you need to pick up after your dog.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I got to the point, we knocked on her door. I said, hey, if you're not going to be pick up after your dog, this is it. My wife just got blasted with it, and we can't do nothing about it because we can't see it.
Yeah.
Because your grass is so tall.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do whatever you can. And then the next week I showed up, there's poop. I didn't even do it. I just left.
Just left.
So I'm
Okay.
like, that's, if customers don't want to cooperate with you,
Sure.
they're not your clients.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
She'll find somebody else, and in that case, Phil did the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are kind of the worst case scenarios. You don't know what's in the grass, and I mean, to have your shoes, equipment, mower deck, wheels just
that's
get
awful.
caked. It's
Yeah.
probably it'll
You
ruin the
sit,
day.
you sit down on a hot day, you turn on your truck, start driving.
And the
out.
first thing you
Oh.
smell is poop
Oh,
from your
man.
shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah,
like,
we-
oh,
yeah.
man.
Got to the habit of checking our shoes before we get in the truck
Yeah.
if we know that the place has it, and just
Yeah.
Yeah. I went as far as building it into one customer apartment building. I built it into the price.
Oh,
So say the apartment building was $250,
Yeah.
and I just bumped it up like the $275 or $280, and and actually later on, this is kind of, I won't say who exactly because they
Sure.
might get in trouble, but the but the apartment manager said, because the next year comes around, it's this year now.
Still my customer. I can't
Yeah, yeah,
say nothing bad.
right. And I told the manager, I'm like, hey man, I have to increase your rates because of this. It's the dog poop. It's horrible. And he's like, I know it's horrible. And I said, well, why don't I put on a dog poop fee? And he says, no, you can't put it on a dog poop fee. And I said, well, why don't I just increase your rates 20%.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I can get that by management.
Okay.
So I just increased it from like 250 to I think it went up to like 280 or 290 or something.
I know guys that incorporate poop scoop or like removal,
the poop
removal
scoop,
in their service, like for weekly visit. They're like, hey, an extra $10-15 and we'll pick up your poop while we're there.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I used to run an enclosed trailer, so it'd be even
Oof,
nastier.
worse.
But now that I have an open, still not considering it, man. So, but I'm just not like that. You know?
We had one customer by a management company that just never picked up after her husky, and that dog was growing and eating just everywhere. And what I started doing is I would bust through the backyard, and I would just go around it.
Yeah,
I would just leave.
Yeah, I've done that.
And then they got the message like, "Hey, you're missing all this lawn." I said, "Well, do you know why?" Yeah, your dog is not being picked up after. And she said, "Okay, you know what? We're gonna hire somebody to do it. When are you here? Thursdays. Okay." Tuesday, Wednesday, it'll be picked up. When I show up, there's one or two, no big deal.
Yeah.
But it's not a minefield.
Yeah. There is a guy in town, the Scoop Troop guy. Maybe I'll put his ad up here. We'll do a little roll of his ad. Yeah, hire these guys. Anyway, we're going to kind of wrap it up. We could just keep going on forever. But we're going to maybe make another one of these here in a second. Sure. But we're just going to wrap this one up. And again, if you guys are getting anything out of these videos, you got to hit the old like button. You got to subscribe. You got to share. You got to check out Phil's Lawn Care. I pointed this way, but he doesn't have anything online. Phil's Lawn Care, and he also has a second one. Why don't you tell us, give yourself a quick plug.
Oh, so yeah, Phil's Lawn Care on YouTube, FILS. And also, I did start a second channel. It's called the Mow to Grow channel. I had a podcast called Mow to Grow, and so I figured, hey, why not make YouTube or video versions of the podcast episodes? So that's what I'm kind of starting to do. And also, don't want to ruin like the metrics of the Phil's Lawn Care because it's all mowing, and so I'm going to be incorporating like maintenance and other lawn care related videos on that channel as well. So Mow to Grow channel, check it out on YouTube.
Great. And Vitaly, give us a quick plug on Greenline Services.
Yeah, well, I don't have an online presence yet. But I will have get some advice from Phil. Get something
YouTube,
going.
On YouTube. Yeah. Well, good. Thanks a lot for watching, you guys. We're having some fun. We're going to stay tuned because we're going to do this again. Thank you. Yeah.